Welcome to From the Ashes, the Dungeon Crawler Network podcast all about Ashes of Creation by Intrepid Studios. Bear witness to the rebirth of the MMORPG genre from the ashes of an industry that has left the gamers behind. I'm Aggelos, founder of the Dungeon Crawler Network, and I am joined by my amazing co-host here in the Mighty Beard Tavern. We got Stormslord. How are you, sir?
Doing awesome this week.
Excellent. And Alpha Soul.
Doing great.
And of course, Crowjack.
I'm still not tired of that intro song. Every time this goes live, I turn on the sound for the stream just to hear it, and then I mute it as soon as we start talking. I love it.
I do enjoy that music a lot, and regardless of the fact that it is not the official music, it's not Bear McCreary's.
I know.
I still associate it with Ashes of
Like, what's
Creation.
going to happen when they develop their own score for their MMORPG? We're not going to have that song.
I'm still.
You know what I hope?
Ah,
I hope we hear that song as the first thing when we launch up, or or we go into the game for the first time.
or a
That's,
close
That would be
variation.
neat. That
yeah.
would be neat.
I think because that music has been used and it is a common trend that has been used since the beginning, even if they can't use it for legal reasons, I really think it should have been mandated that.
Perfect example. Idea.
Well, I would bet you
Item.
it's stock music,
No, it is. It is.
It is.
right?
An item
So
in the
you can
game.
get a license from stock music to play it.
Wait, what?
Questions you pay
A
for it.
little, give me a little music box
Yeah.
with that song
Yeah,
in the game.
that's it, right?
To everyone that kickstarted or participated in the Alphas and Betas,
Oh,
everyone gets
there
a
you
little
go.
music box that has that song in it that you can play
There's
in
a
game.
reward for continuing to play the beer.
Perfect.
I was just gonna say, make sure Bear McCreary makes a song that essentially keeps it kind of like how every Elder Scrolls theme, while it's different, still has that main score that is similar to
Yeah,
pay
True.
the
homage to
theme
it.
and variation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as you
True.
vary it enough, you'll be okay. You just
Mhm.
have to vary it enough. So, yeah, that's a thing.
Little music box with the little plinking notes like you hear in normal ones, but to that tune.
Mm-hmm. There you go. That'd be cool.
I want that in the physical
Steven?
store.
Make it so.
Make it happen.
A physical, you could buy, like, oh, that'd be amazing. I give one to my daughter and I put it in her room. Oh, it'd be phenomenal.
It would be. I really do like
Steven?
that. Merchandise
My daughter
opportunity
would not
right here.
appreciate it.
Merchandising.
Anyway, we got a fun show. We really got to jump into it because we got a lot to cover, which is an amazing problem to have. I mean, to be frank, past few weeks it's been like pulling at the bottom of the barrel to see what we could get. Now we have so much news to cover. Barring
2
the
weeks
past
ago.
2 weeks, yes, it's been very true.
Mhm.
You've been on this show enough now to realize how much we scraped that bottom of that barrel.
Yeah, for sure.
It's definitely there. But we got a new Know Your Nodes, which we'll be talking about here at the top of the show. And then we're going to dive into all that archive news we had before because we really want to cover it because there's a lot of good information. Steven had a Q&A on the 2nd of March. The infamous community Q&A after the live letter, or not live letter, director's letter. Wrong game. And then, of course, the recap of some of the cool stuff we saw on the March 8th live stream. Because we got another live stream coming up at the end of this month as well. So, a lot to do. Let's go ahead and jump into it. But before we do that, I got to give an awesome shout out to both Midnight Joker and John Dar for being our newest patrons over at patreon.com/Dungeon Crawler Network. You guys are amazing. You kept bringing the torches in. Maybe you could bring beer next time because still no drinks. I'm saying. So, yeah, thank you so much, guys. You guys are amazing. And a final announcement, we actually made the decision that all of our post shows will be available to both our patrons and our Twitch subs. So if you are supporting us on Twitch as well, you will gain access to the recorded version of the post show. We will not be releasing the post show in a public format, just as a little bonus to all of those who support us each and every month, either on Twitch or Patreon, as a way of saying thank you for just being awesome. joining the shield wall. It's amazing. All right. We actually did have a bunch of iTunes reviews, but
Cool.
no words, just 5-star reviews, which are appreciated. I think we're up to 66 now.
Nice.
66. So it's climbing. It's definitely climbing. Remember, as I said, if we can reach 100 by the time we reach episode 100, I'll be buying not the lowest tier, the second tier. I think that's what it is. Whichever because it's the last 3. 150, it'll be the second to last, and then 200 will be the largest pack to give away. So that is still going on, and we're only on 87, so you got some time. Know your nodes. Crojack, are you currently doing something?
Not looking for the From the Ashes podcast on iTunes? I'm not.
Anyway, we got a
That's
new
later.
Know Your Nodes, The Basics, which was launched on Saturday, March 16th, which is really cool. One thing I do want to highlight right off the bat, however, is there is some new information for those of you guys who have been with us since the start, almost 2 years of doing this show. There were a few little nuggets, not a lot. But what you're going to see with these nodes, not this one, and probably all future node stuff up until we get nodes 3, is this is them just taking what was said in Discord, said on streams. It had already been condensed by the community in places like Reddit, places like the Ashes of Creation Wiki, stuff like that, but now they're putting it on their site.
Yeah.
So don't expect whenever we get new node information that it's new. This is actually more for new players coming in, being able to get information about the game from the site itself without having to resort to third-party sites, podcasts, which I hope they listen anyway, and videos. Hopefully that's where they go to dig further. But, yeah, that's what this is. Anyway, know your nodes. I guess a couple things right off the bat. We did get a confirmation that there are 103 node locations at the launch of the game.
That's cool. That's a lot. It's actually more than I expected.
That's a lot, isn't it?
It's a lot. It feels like a lot.
It's 103 potential cities. Now, not saying everyone will not. There won't be 103 cities. It's 103 potential spots for a city.
Which
So that's
means
103 level 3s, right? Oh, go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, it helps to fight the min-maxing, or at least postpone the min-maxing of where is the best spot to put your metropolis, because there's that many potential spots.
And they could, given the size of the world that we've been shown, I don't think the cities will. They may not move by much. It could just be on this hill or this hill, right? Like it could move just by a very short amount of distance comparatively. I don't know how large the map's going to be. We already talked about it previously, that the information that Steven gave us for map size was not as large as what we had originally thought. Definitely not as large as something like Atlas. 103 nodes in Atlas would be what, 1 per server, Storms? Maybe?
Yeah, maybe 2. Not many.
Yeah, I don't. It won't be a whole lot.
But then again, are those 103 all be there day one? But they have to develop, right? So
Yeah.
you won't even 103 may not be the main number that's going.
Well, they say it's going to be 480 square kilometers at launch, with an additional 100 square kilometers taken up by the Underrealm.
Yes, some of those nodes will be under there as well.
And that's true. That's an interesting point.
How big's BDO?
You know, I'm actually
Does
going to
anyone
find
know?
out.
How big's World?
I think well,
How big's
let me.
Vanilla World? I think we've talked about this before. I can't remember. Just Kalimdor and
Yeah.
Eastern Kingdoms. How big's Vanilla World in terms of land mass? So I'm trying to get context. Assuming that mount speed is the same or run speed is the same in both games. I want to get context of how big this world is. and
Well-
therefore how nodes would look.
So I think that's the tricky thing with comparing the world sizes is, speed
Movement
at which
speed.
you can actually move around across in the world. Because BDO is one thing, like you've seen, there's these mounts that you can get that are pretty much making you. It's like
Yeah,
you're driving a car.
It feels that way.
Right.
Well, the map of Skyrim was 15.1 square miles.
Okay. Ooh, I've got a really cool image here. World of Warcraft in 2004 was only 80 square miles.
The Witcher
80.
80 square miles?
80.
Oh, 80.
80 square miles. Interesting.
Versus the how much for Ashes?
480.
Just Cause
Wow.
2 is 400 square miles. Just Cause 2.
Interesting.
Witcher 3 is
I've never played Just
39
Cause.
square kilometers. Square kilometers, I should say. Kilometers. You have to go kilometers versus miles. So
Also,
Yeah.
shout out to one of my favorite games of all time from my childhood, Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall. For those of you that played it on the PC, 62,394 square miles. Shout out to
but it was,
Daggerfall.
and it had 2 pixels.
Yes, but it was all about fast travel. You
But it
either
was huge.
fast traveled or nothing, but it was massive. If you want to get on your horse and go, you could. I don't suggest it.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm trying to find a number for BDO. I know I've seen it somewhere,
So
but
if World of Warcraft in vanilla was 80 square miles, you convert that to kilometers, you're going into like the 120, 130, just quickly in my head. You're looking at an Ashes of Creation map that is 3 times at least bigger than vanilla World of Warcraft in terms of land mass. That's, if you just picture that in your brain, that's pretty significant.
Yeah, and with no fast travel, it's going to be.
And with no fast travel.
You got to pick where you want to go.
Now, flight paths, right? Taxied flight paths, like in World of Warcraft. Is that a thing in Ashes of Creation? Do we have a confirmation for that one way or another? Not too sure.
What do you mean? I'm sorry.
In World of Warcraft, you can jump on a flight master and be flown from town to town a lot faster than a horse.
gotcha.
Like,
Gotcha.
to help cut down on that travel time. Only between...
Like in ESO, they had the what? Come on, Ag. They had the ones that walked in between, and the expansion, the big bug-looking things, the walkers.
oh, the Silt Striders.
Yeah,
Striders,
those.
yes.
Oh, yeah, those things.
Yeah.
So if the map is that big when you compare it to World of Warcraft, and there's 100 or so node spots, they wouldn't be stepping on each other's toes. That's a lot more landmass than we think
True.
about.
There's also this other thing that I'm looking at from somebody. So somebody did a measurement. I couldn't find the exact measurement for BDO, but somebody did run from one end to the other.
Okay.
And they said that it took the world's about 16,500 meters from the west end to the east end, which they ran at roughly 8 meters per second with a speed of 1. So it took them about 35 minutes to run it. So 35 minutes from one end of the map to the other end of the map in BDO. This was the original BDO map, not whatever it is.
Yeah.
Expanded. So interesting. I think our calculation the last time that we did it, moving at battle royale speed, I think we said it would take 3 hours.
But a 20 by 20 kilometer by 20 kilometers, what? 400 squared?
Math?
Yeah, no, math. Well,
What? No. Get the calculator out.
I have. Well, you do. I'm more than happy with that, but I'm just looking at. I think it's definitely more than that.
20 squared?
Yeah,
It's
20
400.
squared is 400.
Yep.
20 squared is 400.
means-
So BDO, the original BDO, if 20 by 20 kilometers by 20 kilometers are just shy
It's
of-
400 squared.
is 400 squared.
Yep.
That only included the original Calpheon, Serendia, and Belenos, which is, you've actually been playing that one a little bit, Jack. So it's pretty much that area.
The starting area.
No lower than Trent, no higher
Yeah.
than
So
going into
you could
Medea.
fit. So when the developers say 5 metropolises at a time, it makes sense. In that particular zone in BDO, you can fit 5 large cities.
Yeah, you had Calpheon, you had Heidel, you had. Well,
Whatever they're called. They're all names.
no, I'm
with
just saying-
480 squared,
yeah, but
you can pull off 5 large.
yeah, I could see that. I
can see
don't.
it.
I don't know. Like, I don't consider Velia to be a metropolis by any
That's a
means.
great question. Like, how many buildings, how much square footage is a metropolis in the eyes of Intrepid?
Yeah. Like, honestly, based on what BDO says, Velia, Glish, and Ovia. Ovia may be a town or maybe a city stage. Maybe. The others are town stages, and that's it. They're not any higher.
The one with the red cloaks, again, I'm new to the game.
Calpheon is the only
red
one
cloaks,
that I would say
yeah.
is either a city or a metro.
Yeah, that's a pretty big one. It's pretty sprawling.
I have a random question for you guys. Have you guys ever played an MMO that doesn't have leveling areas locked off by area?
Online.
Leveling that scales with you as you go.
Ultima Online, yes, that's true. Ultima Online, but that was a skill-based system
Fair.
Well,
as opposed to.
ESO
all of
after
them.
they fixed it.
Yes.
Oh, right. But you could level everywhere, basically, with it.
Yes.
And it was normalized.
Yep.
Yeah. My only experience leveling MMOs is you start in this zone, and then once you reach this level, you go to this zone.
Right.
That's my only experience in MMO so far.
And that bugs me.
Gotcha.
I like to be able to wander and explore and cause trouble.
But you do have this new joy in the survival genre, and that's very fitting of the survival genre. But even in the survival genre, the deeper you go inland, the more powerful creatures you generally find.
Absolutely. But you can still go there. You may get wiped, but you can
you
still go
want to.
there.
Yeah.
There's nothing stopping this poor little level 5 from going into level 40 areas.
That's
Nothing
right.
stopping you.
Interesting.
Just don't do it.
Storm, so do you like the ESO method where everything is normalized as opposed to the, the level ladder, if you will?
So I like it. I really do, because I had started just before they did it. And I really like it when they switched it. I would have liked it better, though, if it was they made it tougher when they leveled against you. Right? So you could lose if you were in the wrong area. But pretty much right now, you're not going to lose unless you just aggro everything in the area.
Yeah.
What I don't like about that is the immersion, this perspective. And I'm not one for immersion. We all know this. I don't care about immersion. But if I'm fighting this little wolf at a low level, and then progression later, I circle back to this wolf, and it's now more powerful because I'm more powerful and takes just as long to kill, feels bad. Feels bad.
I like
And
when they
it's-
intermix things, to be frank. I got tired of the
Okay.
fact when zones became I can handle everything in the zone. It's more fun like, oh, I'm out in the field killing deer. Yay. Hey, look, there's a big dark tower up there.
Sure.
You know,
Okay.
you go up there and it's, oh, whoa, these guys
I'm
are...
cool with that. I'm cool
Right.
with that. But when I'm fighting that deer at level 1, and I come back at level 100 and fight that deer, I don't want that deer to be more powerful.
No.
You know what I mean? It's a deer. It's a little wolf.
Hey.
I kick the crap out of that level 1.
They do make some exceptions for that.
There you go.
So
Okay.
They
A little
do
better.
play with it a little bit.
I just want to highlight the fact that more people die by deer than by sharks.
I thought it was cows.
No, that is true.
No,
That too.
people
There's a
get
lot of
gored
things
by
that
deer
go
like
with sharks.
crazy.
No, I'm serious. The fact is cows.
Well, yeah, cows probably would too.
You play
know.
MMOs to gain power, and it feels bad when the thing you were kicking the crap out of before kills you down the road. Just because you scaled up and it scaled up too.
And I
So the
know.
reason I was,
Oh, go ahead.
okay. I was saying the reason I was asking that question is I don't know how this node system is going to possibly work
this is
with
weird.
leveling. If you get experience, based on where you're leveling, if you have a traditional MMO scale, you're going to be leveling here at one point, giving experience, but you move on, you might not be in that zones of influence. And then at that point, when you think about end game, it's wherever the best monsters are towards the end game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is where they'll be.
I almost feel like the world map is going to reflect it, like what BDO does with the boss monsters on the map. Not the boss
Okay.
monsters, but like when you hover over something and you see the corrupted field or whatever outside Calpheon, it gives you a level
Yeah.
range. I think that is going to shift as so you get a starter zone, which is good for levels whatever 1 to 10, and then
Yeah.
you walk out and then you pull up your map and there may be fog of war, but there will be vague numbers, which may change based on nodes moving up and down. As the
Yes.
node levels, all of a sudden that 1 to 10 becomes 11 to 20. I was just there
wait.
over the weekend and now it's a higher
What we know.
rating?
And
is
the
mob level is based off of node level.
Mm-hmm.
Village mobs are weaker in general than metropolis mobs, and the further you go away from the roads, the harder the mobs get. So newer players don't want to hang around metropolises; they want to hang around the villages and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And the same way as that's like, like you said, with going inside the island, right? It's going to get tougher as you go inside.
Mm-hmm.
The same type of thing, if you look at it this way, when you're exploring, say, an atlas, right?
Yep.
You could be there is one main, of 4, 5, 6 different main, world monsters, let's call it that. You need a guild to take on. You can't do it yourself.
Mhm.
But then on each island, there's chances of levels, just like Survivor or just like Ark, right? Where you have different levels of character or monsters or alphas or whatever. And then you have like the alphas, the super powerful ones. They give you more XP. So if you're looking for XP, you hunt them down.
Interesting.
So it depends how it goes.
So Jealous, what you mean is like this, right? Is how the leveling will go, or so like one zone goes up because the node has gone up, but then this one goes down, or it remains at that level because it can't progress any further. So those creatures are always level 15 or whatever, something like that. And then, interesting.
Like the dev said, everything with this game is node centric. Everything.
I fully
be
expect
interesting.
the world change. You could be fighting those crocodiles one day and they're level 10. The next
Node
day,
goes
those
up.
crocodiles are now boss monsters because it's a metro. I mean,
Or they get weaker because the node got
the
leveled
node
from
got
a siege.
destroyed. Yeah, it's a possibility.
And it does force people to migrate around the world map based off of their level, the node's levels, and how that shifts. So people aren't going to be grinding the same spots over and over because they're either going to out-level it or it's going to out-level them, or in other variations.
Actually, I think that does make sense in a way. I mean, it forces if one zone becomes higher, and a guild wants that zone because it's higher, or players want that zone and they naturally gravitate it. I guess that kind of forces people into competition,
Yep.
just organically.
Meaningful conflict.
Absolutely.
Not to mention the fact that crafting node resources, like gathering nodes, can be mined out or gathered out and then get relocated in the map. Nothing in this game is going to be static. Everything's going to be shifting based off of the fluid nature of the node system and this transporting gathering nodes and all this jazz. Like, it's really fascinating.
Speaking of meaningful conflict and potentially screwing over tons of players, we did actually get a new nugget of information under node types. This is something that we actually wanted to highlight because we knew about the economic, military, scientific, and divine nodes in very abstract, nebulous ways. We knew economics was the economics tied to trade in a way. Only way to kind of get an auction house. Goodbye, kitty. Military was combat related. Scientific, the only thing we really knew about scientific was it was the only place that has any form of fast travel, and next to nothing about divine. I know we theorized about that's where PvPers go to get rid of it, but
Bless me, Father, for I've sinned.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's some money.
Here's some money. Donate to the church coffers, and we'll forgive you.
And you're good.
Yeah. Well, we actually have a little bit more information now that was released. This is the little tidbit I wanted to talk about. Economic nodes actually have a trade and merchant focus. That didn't change. We knew that. Makes sense. The next three were a little bit more fascinating.
Yeah.
Military, combat, and class training focuses.
The class training's new.
Yeah.
Yes, the
that
class
we did-
training is new.
Scientific, artisan, and construction focusing.
Construction.
Oh, there you go.
But this is also the place for crafters at that point because artisan's all crafting related.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Construction. So, sorry, there's the construction part. Is that like house building? Is that going to be bridge building? Is that going to be
it could be
ship building?
infrastructure, like roads,
could be.
things of that nature between
Interesting.
to allow for better caravans. I don't know. And finally, we'll circle back and talk a little bit more. I just wanted to make sure we hit everything. Divine, faith, skill, and equipment augment focuses.
Yeah, that's. We've been debating for a long time, trying to understand and figure out what on earth does the religious node do. Like, what's the point? Like, why do you want to have one? You need some incentive to do it, and that augmentation, buffs, that kind of stuff, We were talking in the pre-show, like that seems quite useful, especially for your endgame rating and for your PvP, to get the right kind of buffs, to have the right kind of power level. That's not insignificant at all. That's really important.
Yeah.
Changing the way all of your skills work is fascinating. Military, requiring to go to a military node to possibly train your class.
Or, like we talked about, maybe you can do the basic levels of all those things in all the other nodes, but to get to the highest levels, you might need that specific Metropolis type. So your end game class skills, you have to try and find a military Metropolis.
You may have to attend each one.
Yeah.
Well, what if there's not?
Yeah, well, that's where you
not.
could
Well,
go
then
around
you're out of
screwing
luck, right?
other people over, too.
Your guild might go, you know what? We really need a military Metropolis. Our skills suck. Let's go burn that one to the ground and rebuild a military Metropolis.
It could be, right? Think about it. That's going to put a automatic tension between the nodes.
And like we talked in the pre-show, maybe as your character goes through its time in Ashes of Creation, eventually you'll want to be a part of each individual Metropolis type to take advantage of all of these endgame portions of your character development.
Well,
That could take time.
we knew that the legendary crafting, when we talked about that in the past, required something from every type of node.
Yeah.
So just sitting on one node type for your entire existence in this game is probably not smart if you want to min-max or be competitive in this game.
Yeah, I wouldn't even think it goes as far as min-max. If you actually want to advance your character, it sounds like you need to visit various other
Spend
places.
some time in this one, spend some time in that one.
They've confirmed you can't freeze anyone out from a node, right?
Freeze anyone
No,
out?
you know.
Okay.
How they talked about it is citizenship becomes more exclusive. Like housing may be limited, and citizenship to a node grants you certain bonuses, but you don't necessarily need to be a citizen to use services. Not
Right,
all
right.
of the
Yes.
services.
Yes.
I think there's
Got it.
certain things you can deny only to
Yeah,
citizens, but
Yeah.
the general
Okay, that makes
focus, like an auction house, for instance, I don't think they could say you can't use
Right.
the auction house
Why
in
not?
this node.
Why not? Maybe they do.
Maybe they do.
It's
Maybe
their
they-
node.
You can only be a citizen of one node at a time, though.
And you have to have either an instance apartment, a freehold, or an actual house in the town limits to be a citizen, if I recall.
Yes.
Right.
Or an
Sure.
apartment. Yeah, but
Yeah, instance apartment, right? You need housing in that place in one of the three methods
right.
to be a citizen.
But one thing to take note of, and I know some people, I see some chatter going around, is the thing to remember about nodes is a node is not owned by a guild. Castles can be owned by a guild. A node themselves cannot be owned by a guild. Yes, your guild can be put in or members of your guild can be put in positions of leadership,
Yeah.
but they are not, in essence,
Right.
owning that node. You can't ban anyone from that node for any specific reason. Banning them from your castle? Sure. Banning them from your freehold or your house? Why not? But
Yeah.
from the actual greater city, you have no such cause.
I think some of the Metropolis types will be easier for a guild to get their guild members in leadership than others. For example, the economic node, your guild bands together and they pour their money into a dude and they get him to leadership.
Yeah.
The military one, well, you better hope there's a strong fighter in your guild to try and win that fight to whatever to win that. So some of them will be easier than others for guilds to go, you know what, we're actually going to pool our resources and try and take leadership of this Metropolis.
Yeah. But I like how it's not exclusive to it.
Yeah.
Like, say what you want, let's just take a great player who's really good at PvP, doesn't want to be in a guild. If you can't beat him, then hey, he's a leader of the node, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what warlords are, right? So
Yeah.
warlord.
Yep.
That'd be fun.
Don't have to be in a guild. Yeah.
I will say the one thing is, I think you're going to have to look at this in a more manual way. If you as a guild want to prevent someone in that node, you're going to have to PvP them out of the node. Maybe it's just, hey, we're going to PK anyone who goes into the city who's not part of our guild. That's up to you, but then you're going to deal with the corruption mechanic. But I don't think there's a way to say, no, you cannot be part of this guild. and therefore cannot be part of this, and have some artificial system say, no, you can't enter that area.
An interesting thought has been brought up. I want to bring it to the chat here. The thought of an alliance being able to control a node. If you have an alliance of guilds, which is 4 guilds, and that guild goes max number of players, so roughly 1,200 people. We have 300 per guild, alliance, 1,200 people. The servers are 10,000 strong. 1,200-ish people in a node, if they do the scientific one where you have to vote, and there's 1,200 people in alliance, you could conceivably, with that much cohesion, take over the majority of a node.
Yes, you could.
That takes some planning and some forethought. And you know what? If they're capable of it, go right ahead. That's the people thing about this game. If you have the resources, the time, and the numbers to pull it off, you deserve to pull it off.
Right. Moving on to the next little bit, I actually have 3 more points, but we really do need to move. We're already about halfway through the show and only 25% through our notes. Typical, yeah. It's a good problem to have. It really is. Quest narrative. We knew this one already, but it's still kind of interesting that all the quest narrative that happens from nodes will be dictated by whatever race helped contributed the most. So if you're looking for a very specific storyline, you better hope other people enjoy that type of race as well. Player government starts at stage 3, so any node before that does not have any form of player government to actually be voted into. And finally, the most interesting thing that I want to discuss, they talked about vassal nodes, which we knew about before, maybe not this term, but the idea of one node owning another. I think the thing that interests me the most is that vassal nodes give excess experience because they're capped out. Once they cap out, any experience that is achieved in those areas gets funneled to the master node.
So the villages all beneath a city will funnel experience to the city to get to a metropolis. That's cool.
And vassal nodes cannot declare war on their parent node or any of the other vassals.
Okay, so you are a guild, you're hanging out in your city, and there's a metropolis. And you want to have your city be the metropolis, or the city that you enjoy be a metropolis. You cannot declare war on that metropolis to try and de-level it so your city can level up the metropolis. So long as you're within the zone of influence of the metropolis. So you'd have to like enlist guildies or another guild in an area outside of the zone of influence.
Yep.
To come and attack and get that metropolis down.
I'm not sure how I feel about that a whole...
I don't know.
I mean, I get it. And that, I guess, only goes... See, the only thing I can honestly think about is the declaration phase between nodes. Maybe it's not so much a guild or a group of players, but when you declare war, you have to pick the city that's declaring war against another city. Milan against Florence, because I'm watching the Medici series on Netflix. You know, like...
Yep.
You're not going under my name. You have to declare as a city-state against another city-state. But if you're a vassal of that previous node, you cannot declare war with it? I mean, that kind of does away with any type of...
So to start, it's going to be a race. The first node to get to city-state. Or does tier 3, which will then cap everything else around it to tier 2.
Until it levels up.
It's going to be a race to start.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But they say vassal nodes give excess experience to their parent node and are able to have their own vassals as long as they fit within the parent node's zone of influence. They are subject to the government, alliances, wars, taxes, and trade of their parent node and are able to receive federal aid from them. Vassal node cannot declare war on their parent node or any of its vassals. Citizens of vassals are bound by the diplomatic state of the parent node. So if you are part of City A, which is the vassal to City B, and City B declares war against City C, guess what? So are you. It's like World War I.
Yeah, I was going to say, very much.
Pretty much.
Very much so.
They don't touch on it specifically, but I think they imply it. If you're a vassal node, you actually can't. You've lost your ability to declare war against anyone, not just people within your own within your own vassal structure against anyone. You can't declare war against anyone. That is the parent node's responsibility.
If I have a freehold in a vassal node, Am I a citizen of the metropolis's overall zone of influence? Blah blah blah. Am I a citizen of that metropolis? Do I have access to the metropolis's goodies of since being a citizen?
They said
Do I have
you.
voting rights?
Yes.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
like it. You're
Yes, you
able to
do.
receive federal aid. Maybe that's by definition.
Right.
their
So,
service.
which means if you want to be a citizen of that metropolis, you don't have to be within the metropolis's physical limits. You can go to a vassal's, pretty much the entire zone of influence. Just build within the zone of influence, and
Well-
you're part of that culture.
I think time out. I think there's a slight distinction between, being a citizen of that vassal node as opposed to being a citizen of the main vassal. Like, I think you get benefits. I'm almost thinking of it like a Guam to the United States, if you will, or something. I'm trying to think of a comparison for that, but of something of that nature. You have a lot of the rights that American citizens do, but you may not have the right to vote.
All the
in
British
the-
colonies beneath England. Back in
Yes,
the day.
all the British colonies beneath the end. You enjoy certain protections. You have to pay taxes to them. You reap some of the benefits for them, but you may not be able to do certain things
But
such
what
as vote.
sucks? A lack of civil war, a lack
Yeah.
of an opportunity, an option for civil war. Our dictatorish kind of metropolis is kind of being a jerk, and taxes are really high. What if 4 vassals get together and go, you know what? We want to declare war on this metropolis because they're taxing us too hard.
Pretty sure that's
Give
what
us
happened
that
here.
option. Pretty sure it's what happened in the American country. Here in Canada, we asked mommy for to move out. Mommy said yes, thank God. Yeah, you're the older
Yeah.
son who had to fight mom and dad to get out of the house. After that, mom turned to us and said, "Okay, you guys can leave. Go ahead."
Well,
We don't want you
Actually-
anymore either.
We don't want you here. Get out of here.
actually, you could make the case that they left the node, made their own,
Yeah.
and then left the zone of influence, if you will, made their own. and then-
So
Okay.
you're
Let's
saying
talk about that.
Canada is a vassal of the United States? I got it. It
You
can't
want to
advance
piss off
above.
every Canadian you've known ever? Say that.
They're too polite. They won't do anything. What are they gonna do?
Canadians take pride in not being Canadian, but actually not being American. Like it's just truth. We love it. Anyways,
and they also take
back-
pride in not being French Canadian. And except unless you're
we
French
don't
Canadian,
hate
then you
the
don't
French
like anybody
Canadians.
else.
French Canadians are fine. Let's not bring politics into this video game discussion, even though we're talking about nodes and politics and the
In
nodes.
politics, but let's not bring politics into it.
Yeah, but again, what if you want to have that civil war? Maybe the developers say if 4 vassals get together and want to do it, go for it. But you need to have 4, or let's say a majority of the vassals, right?
Right.
There's got to be. They have to give us a way to do this. It feels like it could be a needed thing.
I mean,
Yeah.
let's break it down from a city. I get that from a city perspective, but yeah, you're right. What if there's factions? What if the guild are a group of people that are controlling Metropolis, and we had set up in a vassal node, or we had set up in a node adjacent, and they just beat it to us?
Yep.
Are we gonna move because we can't do anything else to them?
Yeah. If you can't go civil war, you have to uproot your entire group.
Yeah,
And that's a problem, or it will become a problem.
very much so.
Although this says they are subject to the government, right? If it's something like a scientific node, that technically means you could run to, take a leadership position.
Well, not in the case of what with the
Trial
scientific
by
node
power.
and the not even the combat. Combat, you could maybe the guy got carpal tunnel. I don't know. Who knows?
Send over a guy to his house.
Yeah, no, yeah. You could have pulled an evil in line and threatened to cut off their hands. That's what. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, no, we won't go there. But I mean, if you're part of a scientific node and it's a democracy and the person has 1,200 people and they're all going to vote, unless you also have 1,200 people, you probably wouldn't be in the same situation. You know what I mean? Like there's probably certain areas where you can literally be forced out. If you're a minority in a democracy, sorry, you're SOL. You can't beat the majority in a pure vote situation.
In a democracy, not a representation.
Yep.
So what is it? How's it going to be? Is it going to be true democracy?
Oh, it's totally gonna be just a vote system, I'd imagine. Yeah.
No, that's just that one.
Just
Okay.
that one. But we got to move
Just
on,
the
guys.
scientific, yeah.
We got to move on. We're already
Do we have
way
to?
past that.
All right.
If we're going to cover any of this news before it becomes completely
Irrelevant?
obsolete, yeah, we're gonna have to do
All right.
this. Moving on to the oldest of our news, Stephen had a brief Q&A on the 2nd of March, and the reason why I wanted to bring this up almost exclusively is because it talks about pet systems, and summoners are always a hot button topic. Anytime class discussion is, it's always tell us about summoner pets, tell us about summoners. And the question got brought up, what's the difference between combat pets and summoner pets? And this is Steven speaking. Combat pets, cosmetic creatures, and summoner pets are all 3 different things. Summoner pets level with your skill tree, and only summoner primary classes can have these. Whereas combat pets need to be nurtured and will take a part of the leveler's experience to level up. Cosmetic pets have no combat abilities and just walk around beside you. Awesome. I'm gonna go through all these questions real quick that I highlighted, and then we can talk about it because they all sort of interrelate. The next question was, are we going to be forced to use combat pets versus like damage boosts? Because we're making the assumption that summoner pets are only by summoners. Combat pets are more something along the lines of animal husbandry. Steven goes, not necessarily. Their damage is a percentage of the character's damage output and shouldn't really impact overall damage output. I think by very definition, that actually does impact whatever. Whereas summoner pets are a direct vertical increase in damage for a character output. We're going to talk about that. But these things are be tested and played with during alphas. And the final question that I thought was of interest. Oh, no, that was the final question. Is the fact they had that. All right, let's talk about this a little bit. Combat pets versus summoner pets.
So I didn't understand that at all because, like you said, if it has any power, then it affects it. Unless you're saying you summon a combat pet and you are 5% weaker because that 5% damage is transferred to the pet. And even then, I would argue technically you're weaker since it's on the pet. But
I think a summoner pet will be a lot larger of an effect than just a common pet. If you had so a slight percentage difference, particularly like ESO, you only had combat pets and non-combat. You didn't have both. This one is sort of like I would think a really big combat pet and a small one.
Let's take that back a little bit. ESO had summoner pets and cosmetic pets. We want to different. We want to use their terminology because only certain classes could have pets. The sorcerer could have a pet, and the warden could have a pet. I think that's it. If I remember.
What we're hearing here is the potential for any class to have a pet, and it's gonna come down to a black and white situation. If it increases your damage at all, everyone's gonna do a pet.
Yep.
If it doesn't, no one's gonna use a pet minus a summoner, and it's gonna be real black and white.
Yeah, I mean,
I
don't see.
Where's the gray?
I don't see how it could affect unless having a pet actually puts a combat debuff on you. Hear me out.
Then people will figure out, is this worth it or not? And if it's not worth it, who's going to do it?
Well, and this is the reason why I'm thinking this way. And this is my own thought on the situation. If Steven is saying it does not increase, which I don't see how it wouldn't unless you transfer let's just say it does a 25% damage debuff on you, but your pet does 25%. Okay, so it still makes up that 100. The reason why you would pick a pet is to gain access to a certain ability, maybe a crowd control, that your class didn't have before.
True.
Okay. The only way to make it so it's either all in or not in is make it so that these combat pets have different effects for different classes. At that point, some classes might find the effects of these pets useful, some might not, and it will make it more of a fluid state. If that's not the case, if it's a blanket across the board, either everyone's going to love combat pets or no one's going to love combat pets.
It may also come back to it is an increase, but maybe it's so exponentially expensive. Like you need to have
monetary,
a life skill, using BDO's terminology, like you need to be an animal husbandry person. Like you can't just buy one. You actually need to know how to handle the animal. So that's time investment.
Yeah.
Food investment. Yeah, it could be a difference of, am I drinking the expensive potions or the cheap potions? Well, people do make that comment because I have really expensive pots at BDO. I don't ever use them unless I'm up against something really difficult. Because they're too hard to make. I have throwaway potions that I chug on a daily basis, but I keep the special ones for like node wars and boss battles and stuff like that. End game type stuff. But we don't know, because I don't get how Steven says that a combat pet that will assume is through animal husbandry and not tied to a summoner class is going to affect, because it's not going to change the class.
Let's go to Magical Christmas Land.
Okay.
And in Magical Christmas Land, it's exactly what he says. It's a perfect horizontal progression, no increase or decrease in power. Who in the right mind will want to micromanage a pet that will take time to travel to target before it can deal DPS, instead of which you could have just been shooting the dude yourself?
Other than character or creatures
Individual
having
abilities.
Yes.
At that point, it's not horizontal. It's either better or worse.
I mean, that's like BDO with the certain combat pets help detect stealth enemies. You know, you have a dog, it's harder for a rogue to attack you because the dog smells them from a mile away. You know, like,
and that's not a horizontal thing. That's a vertical thing. It's just better than the alternative.
Yeah. I mean, an alternative could be something along the lines of, I don't know, a flare. BDO uses flares, but then it's an item that you have to carry. It's if or what, you know?
Interesting.
But this was
Giving-
go ahead.
Just giving all classes the opportunity for a combat pet. I don't. What MMO has that been done in?
Ultima Online.
And yeah, how did that go?
It actually went, well, it became a necessity. You had pack mules, you had combat pets.
So every class, the cleric, the fighter, the mage, they all had combat pets.
Yes. It was,
Did they have
it
combat
was its
pets
own
specific to their
skill.
class?
No, it was its own skill
No,
you
it
tamed.
was its own skill. It was a taming.
Okay.
Now, the only offset to that was the fact you needed to lose skill points because you only had a limited amount of things you could learn. If you wanted to have those animals, you needed to have the taming skill. And I believe, and I'm sure somebody who played Star Wars Galaxies is probably yelling at me right now, but I think Star Wars Galaxies, anyone could have a combat pet. Either they were a creature handler, or they had a droid. And the droids could be crafted and sold almost as an item. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure anyone could, as long as they either had the skill to handle the animal or the money to buy a droid. Anyway, that was some good information. We're going to move on because we're really running out of time. But that was a fascinating one, and I really wanted to hit that because pets are always an interesting subject.
People love summoning classes in MMOs. I don't know what. I don't get it.
They
but
love them
people
or they hate them.
Yeah.
And it's really, I see it, like, love or hate.
It comes down to the AI of the pet. A lot of times, if it's clunky, no one likes pet classes.
Yep.
DOAC did a really good job with a lot of their pet classes because a lot of them were fire and forget. The Animist, for instance, was you had pets. You had a control limit, but they were stationary, essentially turrets that you planted these mushrooms and they attacked. It was part of your entire thing. Anyway, we are going to jump into the next bit, which is a little bit more controversial. Because after the director's letter, which went over like the Hindenburg, literally almost an exact comparison of the Hindenburg.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
Hey, look,
Full
it's
hot
a
air.
magic flying. Oh, wow, it's on fire. Oh, there's death everywhere.
Oh, wow, it's on fire. Oh, the humanity. Yep.
Yeah. There you go. For any of you guys who don't know your history, look up Hindenburg and it'll line up for you. Steven, being the incredibly brave man that he is, are foolish. I mean, the difference between bravery and foolishness is a really fine line.
It's usually the result. The winners are brave, the losers are foolish.
That's right. Yeah, it's a really fine line there. He jumped in, and one of our guildmates actually recorded the whole thing. But there is some really good sites which you'll find linked that actually wrote it down. And before I start, I really do want to highlight and give shout out to Kirby over at the AOC Dungeon because he did this right up. Because when you listen to the first couple minutes of the recording, I cannot think of a better way that this was summed up. So I'm going to read this verbatim. The QA opens with less of a question and more of a rant/blame by players asking, why did Intrepid make the Battle Royale instead of Alpha 1? Fun, vulgar language was thrown around, millennials wanting attention, etc. I could not put it any better way. It was good. Anyway, he did actually come up and really did answer a lot of these questions. One of the questions that was brought up that I highlighted a handful, and of course the entire list will be in the description below, or if you're listening on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play, Spotify, SoundCloud, anywhere, there will be a link that you can follow if you want to read every question, because we are not going to do everything, just some of the highlights. Why was Alpha Zero Battlegrounds not used in place of the Battle Royale? And when he says Alpha Zero Battlegrounds, that would have been the PAX arenas that they had created. Because that was a question, right? I mean, we had already seen a 3v3 Battleground? Or 5v5? I can't remember exactly from PAX. It was 2 years ago. But it was a small setting. The Battlegrounds/A0 were under different architecture than the Battle Royale and MMO, requiring the same, if not more, effort to transition into. Also, the BR has a larger capacity compared to the 3v3, 5v5. Tech demo. That's my thought exactly. Alpha Zero and the PAX Arena were literal tech demos that were housed inside. There was probably no network architecture, or very little, and not at all representative of what we were to get. Regardless,
On top of that,
go ahead.
so on top of that, maybe their class kits weren't ready, right? If you want to do a 3v3 arena, you would need to have the classes to play with, and maybe their class design and class kits weren't ready. Also, it's really hard to monetize a 3v3 arena. Let's get real. It's easier to monetize a Battle Royale. But on the flip side, if they wanted to test combat specifically, the Battle Royale is so big and wide open, and combat is so sparse. I'm not sure how much combat data they were getting, versus if they put people into a tiny arena and force them to smash each other all day long, they might get more combat data.
Right.
So depends on what their goals were.
Indeed. All right. Now, this question was asked, what percentage of the game was actually complete? And Steven was not comfortable giving a percentage, but he did highlight that almost all key systems are in place. That would imply to me that things such as the node system are in place and working at a satisfactory level. Questing, PvP,
Marketplaces,
open world,
banks.
marketplaces, yeah. Caravan systems, the AI for the caravan, because we've seen them do it in the AI before.
Yeah.
Does anyone remember the horse caravan that started riding on its side during one of their live streams?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to know what he means. In my eyes, key systems is a lot.
Yeah.
It's not just the node system. The node system is, I would say, the keystone, but not all key systems.
Did he say all key systems?
He said
key systems?
almost all key systems are in place.
So
Yeah.
there's the almost, right? So there's the ambiguous, well, I'm not quite sure I want to say that.
Yeah. Also functional or smoothed out and streamlined.
Oh, definitely
Right.
none of those, but I highly doubt that it's even to the case where it's working.
Again, we're just in that state of that's nice to hear, but please show us.
Yeah. No,
Exactly.
I mean, it makes
We're in
you...
the show us time frame.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially after this letter, and
The
that's what a
Hindenburg.
lot of people were looking
I'm calling it the
for.
The
Hindenburg.
Hindenburg.
The Hindenburg.
The
From now
Hindenburg
on,
letter. There you go.
Full of hot air and went up in flames.
I'm sure I can find you an image for your next video of the Hindenburg.
Oh no, I
Interface it with ashes.
we need to get Cam to make a Hindenburg meme. If there's
Maybe
video footage of it.
maybe you could take the Bone Smasher and have it like swing up at the Hindenburg as it
Still hate that
explodes.
mechanic. still hate that mechanic.
Off topic there, but that's okay. Is that the one I'm looking for? Yeah, I'm pulling up my next question now because there was a lot in this that I thought was pretty neat. Okay, a question of a lot of concept art versus mechanics has been shown lately. It focuses on the idea of monetization and gives the community a negative idea.
Oh my god, yes. Oh my god, yes. Concept art is great, but we want to see the next steps. It's nice to have, but we want to see the character models. We want to see other things than just that.
And the answer was Steven agreed and has brought this up to the team already. One concept artist designing... All right, well then I want to know who this concept artist is because I hate all their work.
Yeah, he makes... Yep.
Sorry, I do. I feel free... You're welcome, whoever this one concept artist is, to come on the show, and I would love to talk about it. Yeah. And I know art is very subjective, but I really hate all your art. I mean, not your skill, just what you're drawing.
Which means he hates you personally and everything you stand for.
Yeah, everything. I hate everything about your being. You're probably an elf too, aren't you? I knew
He's an elf lover 100%.
Yeah, he's an elf.
The art
That's
style,
what it is.
the armor styles, he's an elf lover.
He's an elf lover. This one concept artist is definitely an elf lover.
Yeah, 100%.
One concept artist designing cash shop items and putting them into the pipeline doesn't take away from development. You could argue that. I could believe that because a concept artist isn't going to do anything else other than that, especially if they're just a concept artist and not a modeler.
Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah. It is,
show us the modeling.
It is true, though. Without seeing the modeling, this was a problem, and hopefully with the new pipeline of stuff we're going to be getting, that'll be changing. Like... to see things actually in game. I mean, even that gray box of the bear, I keep coming back to it because it's really the only thing we've had of substance
in a while.
It was, and I mean, that's the ramen noodles of substance meals, but it was something.
Yeah, we are so starved, we're willing to take a grayscale bear and go, yes, substance, eat. It's crazy.
Yeah, well. We're kind of like those starving prisoners that when you throw the bread in the middle and we all dive at it and attack each other. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, college students.
College students and a box of mac and cheese.
All I can picture in my head is that episode of Futurama where Wormstrom is like, I have an entire cadre of doctorate students who will do anything I say for a letter of recommendation. He waves it, and all the students are like, give it to me.
Yeah, that's us. That's the community.
That's pretty much it. I like it. Again, asking about development progress in the game and not just concept art. Like, this has been a common trend.
It's a common theme.
You'll actually, if you read through this, or if you're really brave, feel free to message me on Discord. I'll send you a link to the audio. I think I sent it to Crojack.
I haven't listened to it. I'm not going. I'm good.
I want you to listen to the first 2 minutes. That's all you need to get the gist of the entire thing.
No.
Yeah.
I think, Alpha, you were sending me messages back and forth. Like, I hadn't even listened to it yet. You're like, oh my goodness, dude. I'm like,
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I was surprised that he stuck around for that one.
I tolerated it.
I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
They want to see more development progress. The content going forward is from the roadmap. These will be interview-like pre-recorded videos showcasing back-end game development. I think we're actually getting one of those here. I think by the end of the month. Very close to it. Like, I think it's part of the nodes thing.
If that video shows us, I don't care if it's Steven with his camera walking around the office again, but at least he can zero in on a computer screen, showcasing some modeling and showcasing some map development. Even that, awesome. Do that. Obviously, it's better to actually have a screen capture of these things. But man, if he's just going to sit there in a perfect little, like this kind of frame setup and just talk for a bit and then go to someone else and they're going to talk for a bit and they're not going to show us anything of substance, that's Hindenburg 2.0.
I have 2 more questions that I want to focus on, and one of them is probably going to be Hindenburg 3.0.
God.
Why are you not lifting the visual NDA of Alpha Zero? we're allowed to talk about it, but we're not allowed to show any footage or screenshots we've taken. And the answer is we don't want the old visuals, aka the ones I backed for, to become the face of the project.
That one.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, Alpha Zero, because I can talk about it, actually looked more akin to the Kickstarter videos that we saw, more realistic looking than what we've seen in APOC.
Mm-hmm.
You know, plate mail that actually looked like plate mail and not plate mail that has 3 straps and a pointy shoulder.
I'm telling you, when the MMO drops, you'll get your traditional stuff.
I'm hoping so. And I actually think they are saying how APOC is set so far back in the past at the peak of civilization. I don't see how that could be the peak of civilization. You have
That's
no
their
protection.
peak, not yours. Theirs.
This is why an apocalypse happened and wiped them all out.
The gods
they
looked at what
do?
man has created, and they're like, you know what? This sucks.
Bunch of elves. Get rid of them all.
Bunch of elves, dump them now.
Yeah, so they didn't want the old visuals to become the face of the game or face of the project. I'm really hoping we get better visuals. Okay, anyway. Let's go ahead and again, better visuals is always subject. Some people didn't like the visuals back then because it doesn't look like whatever concept they have in their head as being the best. So it's
Beautiful
really
thing about
just
races.
an opinion, not anything else.
Each race should have an art style to appeal to everyone. Right? Should.
Sure.
If they do their job right, the races should be diverse enough to have art styles for everyone.
That's true.
All right. This is probably going to be the last thing we're going to end the show on. We're not even going to touch the 8th of March live stream because we'll probably save that for next week because that'll be right before the next live stream. So guess what? There you go.
And then we'll be caught up.
Then we'll be actually caught up.
Yeah,
But
won't happen.
I think we're going to spend a little bit of time on this next little bit because this really it could be the bad things going to happen here. I'm going to read the next 3 questions and answers in succession. Will you consider dropping hybrid combat if it does not work? Steven answers. What we'll do, and I fixed the wording, is a shotgun approach and work through various prototypes. Question from irate person. That does not answer my question. If, and I'm putting emphasis the exact way that they did it. If those hybrid combat systems don't work, at what point do you drop it entirely? Answer. Our contingency, if our hybrid system fails, is to switch to tab target. However, I don't believe it will fail. Question. What made you decide tab target over action if it came down to the hybrid combat failing? Answer. Tab target because the core MMORPG is innovative enough to keep players interested.
Screaming that for forever. Combat is important, but it is only a segment of the whole. And if their idea doesn't work, it's safer to go to the tab target system that MMO people know and love and focus instead on the core elements of the game that will make this game great.
Yep.
The reason why I like bringing it up, and I have no idea who actually asked this question, but you could tell the idea was that they were trying to push towards action combat only.
Oh, for sure.
I think with Battle Royale, a lot of that camp has been rejuvenated as far as what they think Ashes should remain as and be as, and they're pushing. But unfortunately, that doesn't look like it's the case. So,
No.
well, I
It's
mean, I would say
hybrid or
unfortunately, yeah. Yeah,
Mysterious
I have an
arm
argument.
just touched me. Anyway, go ahead.
No, I was saying I have an argument with somebody in our guild all the time about tab versus action. And it's like Groundhog Day. But I personally think it's the right direction because I think you can get a lot more strategy out of tab target than you can with action. And I do think that it drains less resources to have to keep up, maintain and improve on, if you will.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, I like tab target. I really do. I like tab target. I'm getting into action. I I really am. I mean, I've played a handful of games, and action is definitely fun, but there's also a certain level that's missing in most action games, besides things like BDO with their insane fighting combat. But
BDO is tab targeting masked as a combat game.
you know, it's actually funny you said that, because there was a video I had talked about a long time ago, and they were actually talking about action combat where it's not, they don't even use projectiles. Specifically, if you play things like the Archer, there's no...
Which I do.
Yeah, you do. The activating the skills is just a more efficient or a more elaborate way of activating a hotkey. Instead of just pressing 1, you're now having to do Shift W.
And
WF.
targeting?
Yeah.
I don't need to aim as an archer, guys, in BDO. Pro tip. All I need to do is make sure you're in this cone. And if you are, I'm locked on. It is practically tab targeting masked with an action combat skin.
I mean, in most cases, tab target, if the enemy's behind you, it'll be like you need to be facing your target anyway.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
wider.
Real
Well,
action
at least they-
combat is pixel precise. If I miss that pixel, I don't hit you, and I have to aim. That's action combat,
I think,
both melee and ranged.
honestly,
Well, and you have to have the drift too, right? You got to pay attention to all that.
the,
But now tab targeting.
the only MMO that I personally know that had 100%, I believe it was 100% projectile-based system was Darkfall. You actually legit had to be pixel perfect aim to hit anything in Darkfall.
There was a Star Wars lightsaber fighting game that was just like
Jedi
that.
Academy.
Melee. That's the one. That's a perfect example of what action combat really is.
All over it. But it wasn't an
Oh.
MMO. You know what I
True.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
you can do a lot more with, like you say, action combat and those projectile systems when it's limited. That's why shooters can be projectiles and stuff, because you have what? Maybe, yeah, the battle royale is maybe 100 people, maybe. I mean, yeah, but you're not doing the 1,000. There's 100 people sitting on the same NPC at a bank in most cases than an MMO. Not
That's why tab targeting has been the default for so long.
it is.
Yep, exactly.
Do you actually think this is a good idea for tab target? I know we said yeah, but do you think it's going to turn away a large section of the community?
No, I think it's
No.
going to turn away the BR folks.
No, it won't. I said it a million times. World of Warcraft had the smoothest combat system, but one of the most basic tab targeting combat systems you'll ever see anywhere. And it peaked at what, 16 million people? It was a cultural phenomenon in its peak.
It pretty
Combat
much
is
made
important.
MMOs
It really did.
mainstream. Like, it was
It did
cool
for
to play
MMOs.
MMOs.
Yeah.
It was
Just
not
like
cool.
League of Legends made MOBAs big, just like Fortnite made Battle Royales really big, World of Warcraft made MMOs really big in the mainstream. And it had, again, just a simple combat system. So combat is important, but there's so much more to an MMO than that.
Yeah. I mean,
So falling back to tab target is the right decision if their concepts, plural of hybrid, don't work out.
and I mean, everyone played Bless Online anyway, so
Oh yeah.
I know. I love throwing that in there, but it's true. And you know what else I saw? I saw a whole bunch of people asking me if our guild's gonna play Astelia online now. I'm like, you mean another Korean import's coming over, and you think that's gonna be any better? Have you learned nothing from Bless? Like, really? Wow. I'm like, I felt like slapping the person who asked me. I'm just kidding, they're a friend. But seriously,
Then you slap them harder.
yeah, I know. You're a friend. I get to hit you harder.
I could hit you harder.
That's right. That's right. Anyway, guys, I think we're going to wrap up the show here at this point, and we're going to be back next week with the March 8th stream recap, because there was some good information in there. I think I wanted to make some fun about Jedi Academy. I mean the battle. No, I mean Castle Siege footage. I don't know. I get so confused sometimes.
Yep.
Get ready for that
I
one.
thought the same thing.
It's okay. I don't have my glow sticks ready for this episode. I'll have them ready by next week.
Can we prepare glow sticks for next week?
Yes.
All right.
I want everyone to go out and buy glow sticks because we're all gonna
Get
wear them next
a
week.
good EDM rave song ready, and we'll go to town. Yeah, we'll go to town on live
yeah.
stream. Let's do it.
I'm gonna look like Terry Crews and White Chicks. Anyway, guys, this is the end of the show. I want to thank my amazing co-host. We've got Stormslord, Digital Piper Studios, Alpha Soul of the _Alpha_Soul. He does videos and pretty awesome news recaps pretty often, getting back in the swing of that. And of course, Crojack. He does videos, he streams, he Snapchats me at night.
I do not.
That's the headcanon.
I'm scared. I need an adult. I need an adult.
Indeed, you do. Anyway, you can follow me in everything we do, dungeoncrawlernetwork.com. There you find the links to all of our social media, including Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Be sure to check out our Patreon program at patreon.com/dungeoncrawlernetwork if you want to help support the show. You can also support us here on Twitch. And remember, patrons and Twitch subs do gain access to our post show, which we are going to be jumping into right after this for those of you viewing us live on Twitch. But if you can't support us that way, you can leave us a 5-star review on iTunes so people know that we are a real podcast, that we say real words. Sometimes they matter. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of From the Ashes, and we'll see you next time. See you later.